Coming to you from behind the craziest socialist lines of the Pacific Northwest, local and national news, talk, and opinions, this is the Behind the Line podcast.
Okay, so this one is pretty infuriating and just nuts. The Wall Street Journal had a story that the Biden administration is considering paying illegal aliens that were separated from their families beginning with the previous administration up to $450,000 each. And actually, this lawsuit was filed by the ACLU, and they originally were asking for $3 million each for each family member that was separated at the border. The Wall Street Journal reported that the U.S. Departments of Justice, Homeland Security, and Health and Human Services are considering payments that could amount to close to $1 million a family, though the final numbers could shift. Most families that crossed the border illegally from Mexico to seek asylum in the U.S. included one parent and one child. According to the Wall Street Journal, the talks come as several agencies work to resolve lawsuits filed on behalf of parents and children who say the government subjected them to lasting psychological trauma, the American Civil Liberties Union said, and is representing some of those families. I mean, this is insane. Like, most people in the United States are lucky if they ever see that kind of money in their life. You work hard, you pay all these taxes upon taxes, and this is what the federal government wants to spend your tax money on. And right now, with the Build Back Better plan going on, and they just decided they would cut all these parts of that program that would benefit you directly, like lowering prescription drug prices, cut. They discarded plans to raise the corporate tax rate, to levy a new wealth tax on the assets of billionaires. They cut implementing a new renewable energy program for power utilities. They cut mandated paid sick and family leave for American workers. And they also cut expanding Medicare to cover vision and dental. But they're going to pay people who crossed our border illegally that should have none of the rights afforded to you and I as American citizens. They want to pay them $500,000, $1 million if it's two people. $1 million. Think about that. What could $1 million do for you and your family? That is a disgusting slap in the face to American people. The fact that they would even consider that. The fact that an organization like the American Civil Liberties Union would even file a lawsuit like this. It's sickening. But this didn't start just recently with this money they want to give to illegals. This actually started back in August with the Biden administration, where he, in his immigration plan, says he wants to make available $15 million to cover the costs of private lawyers for families and vulnerable individuals. And this is in regards to illegal aliens, with another $23 million to cover legal orientation programs administered by the Justice Department. This is for the 2022 budget. And Americans are guaranteed legal representation in criminal cases regardless of their ability to pay. But when it comes to civil court proceedings, which is what immigration proceedings are, we're on our own. You have to pay for your own lawyer. There's nothing guaranteed to you The government's not going to cover anything for you as an American. But if the Biden administration gets its plan passed, illegal aliens will benefit from taxpayer-funded lawyers in their civil cases. Even though there's actually another law that forbids such assistance. But since when do government officials follow laws? That's just for you and I, not for them, and apparently not for people who come to this country illegally. This proposal was first outlined in Biden's fiscal year 2022 budget. It is the first time that an administration has proposed covering such an expense. And of course, the White House has not shared additional information. But a Heritage Senior Fellow for Homeland Security, Laura Rise, and a former federal immigration judge from the New York Immigration Court, Andrew Arthur, a resident fellow in law and policy for the Center for Immigration Studies in Washington, which is a group that advocates for tighter restrictions on immigration, pointed to the passage in the Immigration Nationality Act that they said bars the government from spending its own money on legal representation in immigration proceedings. Section 292 of the law states that in any removal proceedings before an immigration judge and in any appeal proceedings before the Attorney General, from any such removal proceedings, the person concerned shall have the privilege of being represented at no expense to the government by such counsel authorized to practice in such proceedings as he shall choose. An alien should pay for their own counsel, or there are many pro bono organizations and advocacy organizations that can represent them. The American taxpayer should not be paying for an attorney whose someone is removable, said Rise. Rise and Arthur said it would not be fair to provide lawyers for people in immigration cases, which are civil matters, because U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents do not receive taxpayer-funded legal representation if they are the defendant in other civil matters, such as divorces or rent disputes. So, all this taxpayer money being thrown at these illegals to have everything and anything they need, all this court representation, lawyers, when they get here, they're given a place to live, they're given benefits, they're given food, all this stuff that you and I have no access to. And with everything going on right now, inflation, the pandemic, people have lost their jobs, and you got what, $2,000 from our government? $2,000 doesn't even pay people's rent. I mean, why do people support Democrats when these are their policies? And of course, there was a lot of Republican backlash when this report came out. Not that it'll matter, but to put this into a little bit of perspective, Representative Dan Crenshaw from Texas, who's a former Navy SEAL, he tweeted, Biden wants to pay illegal immigrants $450,000 for their hardship while breaking our laws. For perspective, if a service member is killed in action, their next of kin gets an insurance payment of $400,000. Let that sink in. And yeah, you should let that sink in. We're paying our service members' families less than what they want to give to these illegal immigrants who have crossed our border illegally. There's no other country in the world where you can just cross a border and get free everything handed to you. In fact, in most countries, you're going to be jailed. You could get shot. They're not going to give you anything. No benefits, no lawyer, no housing. How did we get here? I'm confused at why this is even a thing. People that support this kind of stuff have no concept of money or debt or where that money comes from and how it's going to be paid back. It's like they believe that you can just print the money and it doesn't matter. It has to be paid for, and it's being paid for by a lot of broke Americans working at McDonald's or working for minimum wage who already pay too much in taxes and can't. They have more rights than you. They can cross our border unchecked. They don't have to submit to a COVID test. They don't have to submit to a COVID vaccination to come into the country. In most places now, you can't even keep your job if you don't submit to the vaccine. But these people can come into the country unvaccinated, untested medically, given everything they need to have a good life now. And if they're given $1 million, I can't even comprehend the reasons why this is okay, why it's even being considered, why an organization like the ACLU would do something like this, other than the lawyer fees that'll be involved in collecting that kind of money from the government and how that will benefit them. Because they sure as hell aren't doing anything like this for Americans. They aren't worried about any of our rights or civil liberties. And yes, it is illegal to enter the United States illegally. That is a thing. That is a law. U.S. Code 1325, improper entry by an alien. Any alien who enters or attempts to enter the United States at any time or place other than as designated by immigration officers or eludes examination or inspection by immigration officers or attempts to enter or obtains entry to the United States by a willfully false or misleading representation or the willful concealment of a material fact shall, for the first commission of any such offense, be fined under Title 18 or imprisoned not more than 6 months or both, and for a subsequent commission of any such offense be fined under Title 18 or imprisoned for not more than 2 years or both. I just love these Democrats and liberals who put these little signs and phrases up. No human is illegal. Well, that may be the case. Being a human is not illegal, but entering a country improperly is. There are laws. It seems like the rest of us have to follow. Well, mostly just these days, Republicans and conservative type people. But apparently everybody else, including illegal aliens, Democrats, liberals, nut jobs in general, don't have to follow the laws. They're not subject to the same laws and rules that we are. But really, this policy should piss off everybody, regardless of what your thoughts about illegal immigration are. Nobody is entitled to be given $500,000 or $1 million for something like this out of taxpayer money when they are doing nothing for American citizens, literally. You got a $2,000 check during COVID when you were told you couldn't work. Think about that. With the amount of money that they're shelling out for this Build Back Better bullshit, they could give Americans a whole lot more money. A lot of money. Trillions of dollars going to all kinds of little pet projects and other things. And meanwhile, they're cutting the things that can directly benefit you. Think about that. Even if you're a Democrat, how can you be okay with this? All these promises they made to do these things for you free college and family paid medical leave and all this stuff, and they've taken it away. Lies, as usual. And it's not just Democrats. Republicans lie their asses off too. It's all these politicians. They are playing the citizens for fools. We're just the serfs, the plebs. They're the ruling class, Republicans and Democrats. When are we going to have had enough of this crap? And really, I'm sure the Democrats are just thinking with a policy like this, they're going to have millions of millionaire voters that are going to vote for them because they're the politicians that gave them that money. And so not only will they have millions of millionaire voters, but they're going to have millions of people who are going to donate money to them too. It's sick and disgusting, and these laws and policies should not be able to be passed. It's pure insanity is what it is. We got to demand for this stuff to stop. You got to take the time to reach out to your representatives, state, local, federal. This stuff has to quit. Enough is enough. I hope hearing this angers you as much as it does me, and it's not just something that you can forget about, because this is unacceptable. We're all struggling, and we're getting nothing from the government. Most of us just want to be able to go to work and be left alone and not have all of our paycheck wiped out in ridiculous taxes that are going to pay for stuff like this. This is not my America. Is it yours? Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Behind the Line podcast at behindthelinepodcast.com. If you liked this, I hope you will like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at Behind the Line WA. You can find us on Twitter at Behind WA. You can also find us on Telegram and LinkedIn at Behind the Line. And I'm on Rumble. Thanks again for listening, and I appreciate your support.